Let's start with the story. So there were three people who were busting rocks on the roadside in heat of summer. A person goes to them and asks them, the first one, "What are you doing?" He looked at him irritated. "Can't you see? I am busting rocks." Then he goes on to the second one and poses the same question. He said, "I am earning my livelihood." Then he goes on to the third one, who replies that a temple is being built here and I am busting my rocks so well that this will become the best temple in the region. Same work, different attitude, different replies. You can't have a great work unless you love what you do. I love giving a talk. Well, good morning. I am Yogesh Choudhary. I am 1996 batch IPS officer, Madhya Pradesh cadre. Presently, I am posted as DG Lakyukta. My father hailed from Barnagar in Ujjain, and he came to Indore to struggle to complete his education and look for a job. By the time I was born, he was working in State Bank of India, and we were living in a decrepit part of Indore, Gadi Adda, in a small 8 by 8 room. The room was small, the resources were very meager, but his dreams were big. He wanted his children to reach the highest points. He worked very hard to provide us the best schools, the best education, and always said, "You dream for the highest post." Years later, it resonated in my mind when I heard Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam repeat the same, that dream big, to aim low is sin. My father was inculcating and drilling the value of hard work in me. He said, if you work hard, that is the only way that you have some chance of success. And yes, friends, there is no shortcut to hard work. Shortcuts will someday cut you short. Remember, medals are not won in tournaments. They are won in training. Tournaments are just happening so that you can go and collect them. I continued my journey in the school, working harder to get the top positions, better results. Finally, the first test came to light as vis-a-vis my contemporaries when I appeared for the NTSC examination. I got through the examination, but I remember it for a very funny reason. That was the first time, and till date the only time, when there were 15 people named Yogesh sitting in that corner in that hall. I never had a chance ever to meet so many of my namesakes together. It was nearly completion of the higher secondary. We wanted, so many of us in India, I wanted to try to get into one of the IITs, the hallowed shrines for all engineering aspirants. I must tell you that during my time, the late 80s, the preparation for JEE in a place like Indore, the availability of the content, the guidance, the supervision was not as easily or even available. We had to fend with correspondence courses and doubts clearing amongst ourselves. I worked hard, studied all that I could, but when I appeared in the examination and saw the paper, for the first time I realized that here was a paper in which I did not know too much. I immediately realized that this battle is a lost cause. I went back, told my parents that my preparation was not up to the mark. I should have prepared more. My father said, "Fine, you worked very hard, now you can choose your options." I was in a dilemma whether to look for other options or to go for it again. But that was cleared by a small incident at my home. One of my relatives came and he was talking to my father when my father mentioned that Yogesh gave the JEE examination, but he could not do well. My relative made a very harsh comment that he is fine, he is good, but you know IITs require something much more. I was very angry, very upset. I told my father, what is this? My father calmly said, if you feel bad, disprove him. And the die was cast. I started preparing again. Hard work, sacrifices, this will always be the starting blocks for your journey. I will come back to the hard work and sacrifice a bit later in my talk. So I started preparing again. I tried to look where my weaknesses lie. And now I will just demonstrate to you a miracle of mathematics which each one of us can apply in our lives. An effort carried on consistently in the same proportion for a whole year will be the same. 1 to the power of 1, 1 to the power of 100, 1 to the power of 1000, it will be 1. 1 to the power 365 would be 1. Now, if you are able to increase your effort by 1%, 0.01, 1.01, and if you do it for a whole year, can you guess how much you will have by the end of year? 37.8 times your original effort, just by increasing it by 1%. And on the other hand, if you lag behind indifference and reduce it by 1%, 0.99, I don't have to tell you, you can see where you will fall. This more than 1,000 times difference by just 2%. So my dear friends, believe in the miracle of improvement, in compounding, consistency, persistence. I tried 1% or more while preparing the second time. And when I went back to give the examination, papers, as JEE papers are, were difficult. But I was better prepared, more confident, and I did get through. I got a reasonable good rank, and I was fortunate to go to IIT Delhi, one of the best of them. IIT Delhi was Universe 2.0 for me. Everything there, except the hostel food maybe, was magnificent in all directions of the word. And that included the beautiful hyperbolic paraboloid roof of the convocation hall. The stay in IIT Delhi was enlightening to say the least. IIT Delhi did not only teach me engineering, it taught me life. It taught me how to live alone, separated from the armors of protection of your parents, your family, how to survive with the worst kind of food you get, how to study when there are no lights, and in the sweltering heat, there is no water. It toughened me, and it stood with me till date. So friends, always remember, if you get toughened early, you will have an easy life ahead. Civil engineering was interesting, but somehow it did not ignite enough passion in me so that I could see that it is my calling. So I started looking for some options. And here, I believe, is one of the biggest traps one can fall into. One can go for the thing which is considered, quote unquote, the best in those times by the world, by others. But believe me, with your passions and to have a meaningful and purposeful life, you have to think and go for the one which is better for you. Maybe not for others. I looked at all my options and decided that, a job as a civil servant would suit me more than any other option. But I had landed into a big issue. I thought civil services, one of the most difficult exams of the world, along with Gaokao and JTPL of Japan. Gaokao is of Chinese exam. It is considered the most difficult exam to crack. And not just that, we are trained to give examinations which are of 2-hour duration, a paper, 2 papers, 1 day. Now here is one exam which runs for 12 months, for a whole year. And you're not sure whether you'll get through, so you start another year. It's like we have been trained to run 100 meters, 200 meters, and then suddenly we are asked to run a marathon. Both requires a different skill set, different preparation. Secondly, civil services exam has multiple stages, which will test all your skills. Some will test your sharpness, speed. Some will test your depth of knowledge. Some others would want your personality, how you speak. It needed all. Two things while preparing for civil services. It's a very long and journey, and you need a lot of planning and homework to sustain the effort, the energy, and the productivity for that longer duration. One, something which came to my advantage was my habit of reading. Reading is one of the most understated virtues. But one of my favorite lines from, you might have seen it, Game of Thrones. Tyrion Lannister said, "A reader lives 1,000 lives before he dies. But a man who does not read live only one." You pick a book, you are transcended into a different world. Reading will help you everywhere, professionally, personally, even on your social media, in your home, with your children. So my dear friends, it's never late to inculcate this most magical thing in you. Second thing, as I said earlier, there is too much of hard work, sacrifice being imposed on everyone. That is the only way, that is the only way. And many young people, even old like me, get sometimes, oh, it requires too much hard work. I would just like to add one small catch here. If you do something you love, you will never have to work. Simple. If you start doing something you love, you will never feel the hard work or any sacrifice. While preparing for civil services, somehow I felt that it can sustain only if I enjoy it. As an errand, it is difficult to continue for a year or maybe more. I worked hard, but I enjoyed the preparation. And as luck would have it, when the results came, before that, I have to get another element into the picture. I was appearing my last paper, physics, and the last question. It was a very simple question of a parallel electrical circuit with resistances. You had to just find the resistance value. It was a problem whom I don't know how many people I had taught. Even today, while I am narrating this incident to you, if I am given that problem, I think I'll be able to solve it in 15 minutes. But that day, on the last paper of my civil services examination, I had 40 minutes to do that question. And I somehow blacked out. It just went off. I stayed there looking at the paper. How should I go about tan inverse x is equal to a by b and a plus b is equal to dash? How should I go about it? Finally, when I came out of the examination hall of first floor of the Dhalpur house, the moment I reached the staircase, I realized, Yogesh, what have you done? It's elementary. 2 equations, 2 variables. Simple. But this is life. There would always be inexplicable, uncontrollable events, which you cannot explain or rationalize. You just have to take it in your stride. As luck would have it, I was saying, the results came, and I got a very good rank of All India 66. I was allocated to the prestigious Indian Police Service, the IPS. We were very happy, the parents, the relatives. Some were very skeptical suddenly. They said, police? You will join police? How can you join police? How can you do the job of policeman? I said, well, I've earned it. In fact, the stigma runs so low that there are so many stories, I can take a whole day about the stigma which police suffers from. But I'll just narrate one very small incident which still tickles me till date. One of my relatives, who was well educated as compared to many of my other relatives, While I was undergoing training, he came to me and asked, Yogesh, do you have classes where they teach you speaking foul words? And I had a dilemma of whether answering him as a boy who has lived 6 years in a hostel in Delhi or as an officer. I took the safe path. I replied as an officer, Uncle, no, we don't have such classes, but we do have ethics. So this is the stigma. And these are just small snippets of the unsung work which police officers are doing incessantly 24 hours a day. You have a good doctor and a bad doctor. You have a good engineer and a bad engineer. You have a good policeman and a bad policeman. Somehow the police bad is highlighted, maybe because it is enforcement, regulatory job. It prevents people from going unbridled, reckless, so maybe they feel bad about it. But my die was cast, good or bad, I had to join as a policeman. IPS was Universe 3.0. I entered into a new world, a completely unfamiliar world of crime and criminals, weapons, tactics, jungle warfare, mountain climbing, swimming, unarmed combat, horse riding, automobile riding, cyber crime, you name it. We were infused with so much that I realized that I am living the Matrix movie. I have completed 28 years of my journey. Before that, many of you might not know, since independence, 36,000 policemen have laid their lives on duty. This is, I think, a fact you should always be reminded of whenever you see a policeman. So, as I said, I have completed 28 years in service now. Yes, there have been setbacks, letdowns, frustrations, heartbreaks, physical injuries, mental scars, irritation, pains. When my eldest daughter was born, I could not go to meet her for 5 days because there was a law and order problem in my district. I could not leave. But all this and so many others are surpassed by the positives which I have obtained, the satisfaction, the gratification which I have achieved in these 28 years. Where else would I get the satisfaction of roaming around for days incessantly with very little food and water in the notorious ravines of Chambal and finally finding the dacoits hidden behind the yellow sands? Where else I would have found the intellectual stimulation of sifting through gigabytes of data, trying to find that one leakage or chink in that VPN data so that I can zero on the IP address of the cyber criminal masking behind the proxy addresses and catch him while he is looting the hapless citizens. I can never forget the gratefulness flowing out of the tears of a mother when we gave her back her child safe who was abducted for some amount of ransom. I would never ever forget the tears of happiness streaming down a young boy who had not eaten for 2 days because he had no money. He ran the examination because he had no shoes. He got injured. But yet, he kept on, kept his resilience, and got selected through the police recruitment test, which is going to change his and his family's life forever. I developed strength. Even I could not imagine myself having when, despite getting grievously physically injured, I could maintain the composure and restraint to not use excessive force on the violent mob which was out to incite us. I got the satisfaction and applaud for conducting the biggest democratic exercise, assembly and the parliament election, many times. Whenever I wear the uniform, I still feel the same pride and the responsibility inherent to it. Khaki has become a second skin for most of us. My friends, the journey continues. Now, one more thing while you are all undergoing the various stages of your pursuit of a meaningful life, like a video game, you have to remember that you will require the health packs, the boosters, because like in a video game, if you do not have the health boosters, after a time you get tired, you get fatigued. So the health boosters, the stress busters, you have to accommodate them in your life, howsoever busy you are. You have to look for passions which are not fulfilled, the new ones which you have obtained while your journey is going on. You can play tennis, as I do. You can pick a book. You can bake an aromatic bread. You can sing a song. You can dance like there is no tomorrow. You can meditate. You can exercise. You can do one or any of these. But remember, these are the soothers which will heal the scars which you have obtained while fighting your journey and make you ready for the next one. And the most important among them is your family. Always remember, family is the backbone. It is the strong wall which supports you. They will always stand behind you lest you fall. They will never judge you. They will love you in no expectation. I always remember, howsoever bad a day I have, when I reach home and eat my mother's cooked food, splattered with her unabashed love, I forget everything. My father, the same old disciplinarian, still do not resist chiding me if he feels I have not put up enough effort. My wife, who has been a pillar of strength through my just 26 transfers, and always hold fort with my kids, with us, and enjoys her professional life as well as working hard for making us comfortable. My sister, living very far off, still giggles the same way when I pull her leg. My daughters, remember, your kids will become your biggest teachers when you are old. My elder daughter, she teaches me so much. We can discuss movies, books, nutrition for hours and still feel there is a lot left. We have watched 5 movies at a stretch without a break. Every day, I feel that the more moment I get with her, I will get enriched. My younger one, she has taught me another important fact of life. You can fight with your enemy all the day long and not give up again the next day, yet love the enemy. And the youngest member of my family, all my woes evaporated. When I reach home, he's waddling, and when he sees me, comes running, wagging his tail, trying to get into my lap. So friends, involve, indulge, invest in this thing called family. Everything and behind every successful person, the backbone and the strength is of family. If I am asked to sum up how I feel that one should pursue a journey which will make it more meaningful, more usage of your passions, I will say just 5 words. Identify, focus, learn, grow, and enjoy, but in strictly that order. Before I end up, I would also like to provide a tool to you all, a hack which will improve the quality, the sustainability of your meaningful life. It is a virtue which has been highlighted in all the philosophies of the world, the Western philosophies, the Hindu philosophy, the Jain, the Buddha. That hack has been highlighted to a young generation and the old alike after the corona. That tool is, my dear friends, moderation, temperance, the middle path. There can be a lot of discourses on that, but I would just provide you with what I consider one of the best, a shloka from Bhagavad Gita. In chapter 6, 17th shlok, Lord Krishna says, Yukta ahar viharasya, yukta cheshtasya karmasu, yukta swapna abodhasya, yogo bhavati dukha. That means someone who lives in temperance, who eats and entertains himself in temperance, who works, exerts in moderation, who sleeps and wakes up in proportion. This yoga will mitigate all his sorrows. So my dear friends, as I saw it written somewhere, just when the start of it, go out and live your life believing in your heart that your life would be full of passion, purpose, magic and miracles. Have a great day. Thank you very much.